everybody. Let's go to the chitas of the day. Okay. Yesterday's, I think. Okay, ready. Some of them are long rachis here. We're going to go to the chitas of the day. Today is Monday. We're holding the second reading in a portion of Mishpatim, which is the portion of the laws of the Torah. Chapter 21, verse number 20. If somebody hits his servant, he hits him, b'shevet, with his rod, or mace, the servant will die. Tachas yadeh, underneath his hand. Nakim yinakim. He has to surely be avenged the blood of his servant. So now she says the text is referring to a non-Jewish slave, or perhaps it's referring to a Jewish slave. To clarify, the Torah says because it's his property. Just as the property is a permanent acquisition, so to a slave, and the question is one who is permanent acquisition. Now who kills a slave, not including he strikes a man and dies. Above the verses was written to include him, the owner of the slave. The general rule concerning murder to be law a day or 2 days, that he is not to die under his hand, but he lingers for entire 24 hours. Then it's not the law of murder, so it's not intentional murder. Murder at first degree is when a person dies at that time, the time of murder. Not that a person gets sick and then he dies later. So it's a different law of murder in the first degree. Bashevet, this refers to its sufficient weight. Bashevet, he took a rod, or perhaps not so, but the master liable, even the rod does not have sufficient weight or strength to kill him. Therefore, the Torah says concerning a Jew, one who strikes him with a stone that can be held in his hand, which is may die, or he strikes him with a wooden instrument that he can held in his hand, which he may die. Now, could it matter not been understood about kavachayma? That is, in case of Israel victim, a case which treated more stringently, one is liable unless he strikes him, the victim, with an article of sufficient weight and strength to kill, the blow, or an organ which can cause death. How much more so in the case of a slave? So the Torah is in essence teaching us that you have to get intentional murder in the first degree, is when somebody kills somebody with something that can kill him. He takes a pencil and he throws it at him and it happens to kill him. That's not considered a person who had intentional act of murder. Something happened and the pencil killed him. We're talking about something that he killed somebody with that has the capability of killing. Now later on, the Torah tells us like metal is always capable of killing somebody. It doesn't make a difference how big or small a piece of metal is. Metal, even a little knife, can kill somebody. But we're talking about here, the Torah says a rod, a wooden rod. A wood has to be that you hit him with something that has the capacity and the capability of killing. If it's if you want to consider it as the act of murder, an intentional murder. So let's say murder in the first degree. But if he survives, then he shall not be avenged because this is his property. The slave belongs to him. If 1 day the survival exempts him from punishment, then surely if 2 days it's exempt from capital punishment. So the Torah wanted to tell us, rather, it must be speaking of 1 or 2 days of what kind of days? That full 24-hour period that we have to have, that he didn't die within the 24 hours. If he dies within the 24 hours, then we do connect it to the act of what he did, that he hit him, and that brought his death. If he doesn't, it passes a day or 2, then it's not connected. Then it's hard to connect the death to the act. But if somebody else strikes him, even if he lingers 24 hours and before he died, he, the person, is liable. So that's only concerning, this law is only concerning, this 24-hour law is only concerning between a master and his slave, but not concerning between two different people. That if a person hits somebody and the guy lingers and he dies after 24 hours, we will connect it to the concept of his strike. And these are the laws of the Torah, and these are the laws of the Torah. The Torah makes a difference between a slave and a regular person, and self-understood, these are laws that the Torah says. Verse 22. Should two people have an argument, and in their arguments, there's an interesting law that Torah puts in the concept of two people having an argument, and they push a pregnant woman, and she has a miscarriage. But there's nothing happened to the mother. So now they killed the baby. Is that considered murder? Boarding a child from the stomach of the mother. So this Torah tells us that the punishment is a monetary punishment. This teaches us that until a child is born, it's not considered viably alive, even though it is alive. So it's not. So in essence, killing a child in the mother's stomach is not considered capital. It doesn't go into the law of capital punishment. It's murder, but not murder. Not murder, so to say, in the aspect of being punished by death. And they'll give according to what the judges says. So if two men quarrel, one with another, one intends to strike his fellow, and by mistake he struck the woman. With nakfai, the gif is only expression of pushing and striking, bruising. There won't be a fatality in the woman. Anish, to pay the value of the fetus to the family, to assess how much he was valued as sold. How do you do that? How do you value how much the fetus is worth? So you evaluate how much. That's the way you used to evaluate people on the market, so to say. How much is a woman that is pregnant worth to be a maid, and how much is a woman that's not pregnant worth? And that's how much that's how much you would pay for the child. Because how do you evaluate a child? So the Salem must pay the difference between two amounts of how much she's sold as a pregnant woman with a child, or how much she would be sold as a non-pregnant woman. You collect the monetary payment, and he pays a fine upon it, 100 shekel of silver. When the husband sues him, to sail him to court, to levy upon him, besides paying the value of whatever the value the court will evaluate a child before birth, that and plus a penalty. The nasa makid de melas, and the guy must give that money according to the verdict of the judges. If God forbid there'll be a death, the woman will die. With a sata nefesh, then you have capital punishment. So there'll be a fatality in the woman. The sata nefesh, the rabbi is different in the matter. Some say they must actually give up his life, and some say he must pay money, but not actually give up. Because why? Because in this law there was no intentional murder. These two guys had a fight, and by mistake the woman was walking by and they hit the woman. So it's unintentional murder in this law. So really, what do you mean that nefesh tafas nefesh? Only intentional murder is a life for a life. This is an unintentional murder. He has to go to the city of refuge, maybe. But what is the meaning of this law? That's why there's a whole Gemara. You know, in general, in this whole parsha, there's a lot of Gemara on this whole parsha. There's very not so simple laws. Every nuance of the Torah is learned from over here in Jewish civil law and capital law, capital punishment in Jewish law. This is very difficult laws. As you can see, the pasuk is very ambiguous. Like the pasuk puts a whole law of a person murdering a child in the mother's stomach, and the whole concept of two people having a fight. I mean, why couldn't you just say it openly? The guy punched a woman that was pregnant, and she aborted her child. But the Torah it wants to learn many laws from this law, and we do. You learn Gemara. The Gemara learns many laws. So over here it says nefesh tachas nefesh, a life for a life. But the truth is, if we're talking about an unintentional murderer, that means in the aspect of this, even this woman, that two guys had a fight and the woman passed by and by mistake they hit the woman. One of them hit the woman. That's not considered in Torah law intentional murderer. So then he wouldn't be put to death for an unintentional murder. He had to go to the city of refuge, or the other different laws. In Jewish law, you have an intentional murder, an unintentional murder, a shogeg, and you have in between. Kadav l'mezid. He's not a shogeg, but he's not a mezid either. So it's in between. What's the law of somebody who's in between? Because again, in Torah law, there's no jails. If you kill somebody intentionally, you're put to death. You kill somebody unintentionally, you go to the city of refuge. What happens if you're in between the unintentional and the intentional? Then there's the whole law of Goyal Adam, which in essence is anybody can kill you. Anybody can kill the person. And the guy is on a run. He's on the run his whole life. It's the harshest kind of punishment to give a person, because basically if he kills somebody, he's going to be put to death intentionally. If he didn't, he goes to the city of refuge. But if he's in between, he's a nod. He has to always be on the run. It's a very interesting law. I don't know if it would work today in civil law, but this is the law of the Torah. So this is the law. If one intends to kill a person and kills another, he's exempt from death penalty. So that's over here. Since he's exempt from death penalty because he didn't do it intentionally to kill the woman, that's why he has to pay monetary damages. That's another thing in Jewish law. In Jewish law, once you're punished by death, you can't have any monetary damages. It's a concept in Gemara. You give the guy the worst punishment. So if there's a monetary issue and a death issue, he's put to death, and now he doesn't have to pay monetary issue. He's freed from his monetary obligation. If he's freed from the death penalty, now he has monetary issues. So that's what the Torah in essence says over here. He has to pay for the child. He has to pay for the woman also, the death of the woman, but he doesn't have to pay. He doesn't have to put to death because he didn't do it intentionally. And who does he give the money to? He gives it to the inheritors. Ayin tachas ayin. This is a famous verse in the Torah. Nefesh tachas nefesh. A soul for a soul, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a foot for a foot. And again, this is translated in simple terms means an eye for an eye, but that's not the way it is. An eye for an eye is not an eye for an eye. An eye for an eye means the value of an eye for the value of an eye. When you put somebody's eye out, you don't take his eye out. When you take off his foot, you hurt a guy's foot, he loses his foot, you don't lose your foot. That's the law. That's the law. That's the way. That's the law of the Torah. So if a person blinds his neighbor's eye, you must give him the value of his eye, which is how much the price he's sold in the marketplace. That's the way it's valued in the Torah times. That's where it's valued. How much is a slave sold with one eye, and how much would he be sold without one eye? And that's going to be the difference. And so too in all these expressions, it doesn't mean an eye for an eye, a foot. It means the value of an eye. This is all Baba Metzia, Baba Kama. All the laws over here. You want to learn Baba Kama, and you become a genius in Jewish law. Kivi kviyah tachas kviyah, a burn for a burn. Petza tacha petza, a wound for a wound. Chabura tachas kabura, a bruise for a bruise. Now she says a burn for a burn, the cause of a fire. That's why we lose the makkah eish. Until now, the Torah spoke about an injury that decreases the value of the victim. And now there's an injury that does not decrease the value of the victim, the sword, but causes him pain. Right? So he has a bruise. He's a bruise. How much you evaluate a bruise? For instance, if the assailant burnt him, the victim, on his nails with the spit, the judge, compute how much money a person like him would be willing to take and endure such pain. How you evaluate pain? You're not taking the foot off. Now you can evaluate how much are you worth without a foot. But how do you evaluate pain? The court has to evaluate what's the pain, how much to value the pain. Petzo, maka, metzi dam. If a guy wounds somebody, means a guy who makes somebody bleed. He wounded the victim's flesh. If it increases value, so he must pay the damages. But if he falls to an idle, he'd be sick. He must pay his idleness. And for the healing, shame and pain. So Rashi says this verse is seemingly superfluous because there's no difference between a wound and a burn. Whatever damages he inflicts, he must pay. In the chapter Achayva, again in Baba Kama, our rabbis interpreted to making it one liable for the victim's pain, even where he's permanent damage, which he must pay for, because although he pays him, the victim, the value of his hand, we do not exempt him from the payment of pain. He still has to pay for pain. Nezek tzar, one of the things that he has liable for tzar. We're going to evaluate the pain that you're giving, that a person gave a person. Pain. That's a very difficult thing to evaluate, but the court will evaluate what is the value of this pain. Reason that since the assailant purchased the victim's hand by giving the victim payment of the value, he must amputate it whatever he wants. We say, however, we should amputate with the medication that lessens the pain. That's a general rule. Might say he has to pay that if a person has to go to a doctor, he has to go to an operation. It can be a painful situation, or it can be a less pain. He has to pay for it. He has to pay that the person should have less pain. A bruise, this is a blow which the blood collects but does not come out. So the redness of flesh, even though he didn't have a bleeding, he had a chabura. He has a bruise, black and blue. And that's the concept of black and blue. If I hit my friend and I give him a black and blue, I have to. That's it. I hurt the person. I have to pay. There's a monetary payment. Okay, verse 26. If a man strikes the eye of his maidservant, or the eye of his maidservant, if I hurt my slave, you have to free him. If you hurt your non-Jewish slave, you have to free him. This is only a non-Jewish slave. But a Hebrew slave does not go out the loss of a tooth or an eye. Only goes out in 6 years. So this is one of the leniencies of a non-Jewish slave. Even though the non-Jewish slave is a slave forever, doesn't have the law of 6 years or 50-year jubilee. But he goes out. If you abuse your slave, you hurt your slave, and Azash is next to this law is with the 4 tips of the limb. The finger, the toe, the ear, the nose, the malog, or where both the tooth or eye mention the Torah as one, because it has to mention the eye and did not mention the tooth. I would say just an eye that's created with him by birth. So does not apply anything that is created in, but a tooth is not created in by birth. Therefore, I would say that the master knocked out his tooth, they would not be freed. If it mentioned the tooth and did not mention the eye, I would say that even the master knocked out the baby tooth, which would be replaced by natural growth of another tooth, the slave would be freed. Therefore, it mentions the eye. This is all in the Gemara, the way the Gemara learns the pasuk. Why does the pasuk say the eye and the tooth? Because we learn from the eye and the tooth all things that are hidden, things that are outside, things that a person has to begin with, things that a person has later. If you hurt your slave, if you touch your slave, that means in essence the Torah tells you you're not allowed to put your hand on your slave. Might be your slave, you're not allowed to touch him. And if you touch him and you hurt him, he's free. He's free. Not allowed you're not allowed to abuse your slave. And by a Jew, it says openly, you're not allowed to put hard labor to him. Forget about abusing him. You're not allowed to take a Jewish slave and have him do hard labor. That's what the Gemara Talmud says. Buying a slave is buying a master. And really, that was the whole point of a slave. The point of a slave was to help people. Really, it was to help people. Give people parnasa. Give people, the people that were destitute, to bring them into your home and give them a capability to survive. You had to give, as the Gemara says, you had one pillow in your house, you had to give it to your slave. You had enough food, you had to first feed your slave. Make sure that they are well fed, well taken care of. As in a Jewish slave, you have to take care of the whole family. So here the Torah says, if you have a non-Jewish slave, but you might think it's your property, you can do whatever you want with it. Not true. You hurt your slave, you have to let him free. You have no rights anymore. The second you're an abusive person, you have no rights to them. That's why the Gemara says one of the reasons why the princesses of the land wanted to be slaves by Jews, because even the princes of the land were more abused, like the slaves were more abused by the nations of the world, and by the Jews they were taken care of like princesses. They were taken care of like mentioned, and that's the truth. That's what Torah wants. If you have a person that works for you, you need to take care of him. You need to respect him. He's not there to be abused. And if you abuse him, you have to let him go. If you knock out the tooth of your maidservant, the tooth of your maidservant, you have to let him free. Let her free. Let him free. In return for his tooth, you got to let him free. Verse number 28. If a bull gores a man or a woman and he dies, that's my property. It's also very intricate laws. You have to stone the ox, because the flesh cannot be eaten. You can't shech the ox. If you're killing the ox, you shecht it and eat the meat. But once it killed somebody, its meat is not kosher anymore. So therefore you stone the ox. But the owner, you can't put the owner to death for the actions of his ox. So now she says, the Torah does not only referring to an ox. The Torah is showing any domestic animal. If my dog kills if somebody's dog kills somebody, whether it's any bird, a textbook usually occurred, or usually there's a bull. Because a bull is a goring animal. For the vocation that is stated that the bull shall surely be stoned, do I know that it becomes not kosher? You stoned it. And a stoned animal is forbidden to eat. For what purpose the Torah says its flesh shall not be eaten? To inform us that even if one slaughtered according to halacha, after we sent, the guy said, you know what? Let me run right now. I'll slaughter the ox. Why should I lose the money? It's forbidden to eat, even though you slaughtered it according to the law. How do we know that no benefit may derive from it? Therefore, the Torah states the owner of bull shall be clean. As one who says to his friend, so and so lost his property, was cleaned out, nucky. He has no benefit from it. This is the medrashic meaning. The simple meaning is the apparent meaning, since it says concerning a habitual gore, and also its owner shall be put to death later on. The next pasuk. Next pasuk is an interesting pasuk. We'll see in a second, because over there it says if it's in the Torah law that the difference between an habitual gore and a non-habitual gore. An ox that gore 3 times is called an habitual. It's called a muad. An habitual gore. An ox until 3 times is called a tam, an unhabitual gore. And it's monetary, in the aspect of monetary, there's a difference. But if it killed somebody, the Torah over here says you're not allowed anything. But then the Torah says, the next verse says you shall kill the owner if it's an habitual gore. And we again know that doesn't mean he should be put to death. It means he has to pay full value. The tam, the tame bull, which is called a tam, is the bull that did not gore habitually, but only once or twice. In the case of a bull that killed a person, this bull is put to death, but the owner is clear, meaning he does not even have to pay. He doesn't have to pay any debts. If it was a tam, it means an unhabitual law or gore. If a guy had an ox, very nice ox, and suddenly it gored a person, it killed him. So he has no monetary damages. It's his ox. So he doesn't have to pay any money. And the ox is put to death. The fourth time it gores or kills a person, he's liable to death. And is also the owner, it's not liable to death either, So the third time, now it becomes an habitual killer. And he's liable for death in the hands of heaven. That the owner left his animal, an habitual gore, letting him going around, and he already gored 3 people. Now the owner might not be put to death by man, but he better do tshuva. It is liable to death, and his owner is liable to death by the hands of heaven. In order to clear himself from a punishment, he must pay ransom. Now he has to pay money by the third time and on. He has to pay a knas. And that's the next verse. If this bull is a goring bull since yesterday and the day before yesterday, and its owner was warned, and he didn't watch the ox. He killed somebody. The ox needs to be stoned. And the owner will be put to death. So Rashi says, since yesterday and the day before yesterday, so the Gemara says this is why it gored already 3 times. And the word over here, the Rashi says this means he was warned that he has a goring ox. Since it's take the bull gores, I know that the bull is liable to death. If it kills him, its victim by goring with his horns. If it killed him through biting, shoving, or kicking, how do we know that he must be killed? Therefore, the Torah says that he's put to death, anyway, whether he gored him, he kicked him, he bit him, it doesn't make a difference. The Torah talks in general terms. Usually a ox will kill somebody with his goring, but it doesn't mean only goring. If this ox bit somebody and killed him, that's the same law. Vegam ba'al of yumas. And also the owner will be put to death. Again, a person is not put to death in Torah law only if he kills. If his ox kills, he's not considered he killed. So how do you use the words v'gam ba'al of yumas? Again, you have to learn the Gemara. How the Gemara proves that this is not a death penalty. So Rashi says, by the hands of heaven, and not through the court. No, but you don't kill a person, even though there's a terrible situation and somebody died. A person is not put to death. Capital punishment in this situation by his ox, even though this ox is a goring ox, because you're not put to death by your possession. You put to death by if you kill. The person himself kills. You might think that over here the verse means that you put him to death in the court. Therefore, the Torah states the assailant shall surely be put to death. He is a murderer, implying that the act of murder you must kill him, but you do not kill him for his bull, only if he murdered. We learned that in a different pasuk, the book of Bamidbar. Over there, the Torah says he murdered. You only kill a person if he murdered, not his ox murdered, not something else of his murdered. He murdered. And therefore, the Torah cannot mean over here that the owner is put actually physically to death by the heaven, by man, by the court. But the Torah in essence says God will that's what we learned yesterday. God brings a situation The guy's walking underneath the ladder, and somebody's going to fall off the ladder and kill him. That's bidei shamayim. That's the elakim ina layadei, and broad brings the situation. So there's certain things that the Torah allows the court, in the hands of the court, and certain, especially capital punishment, where the Torah doesn't give the right to the court to kill the person. What can the court do? In Kaifa Yushas Olav, insofar as ransom shall be levied upon him, we're going to penalize him. We're going to give him a hard sentence of money. V'nosam pidya nafshe, he shall give the redemption of his soul. He'll have to pay. K'chol asher yusad, or whatever the court will put upon him. So the court can put upon him $1 million penalty. Whatever the court decides to put upon him. So that's the ve'im is not meant conditional, but it's like when. It's not if the court will put a penalty. The court will put a penalty. Nasim pidyon nafshe, he gives the worth of his soul. This is also not clear. Whose value? The value of the one who got killed, or the value of the one who damaged? Whose value? This is a very famous machlekes in the Gemara. The main nizik, the value of the victim. The main nazik, the value of the damager. Maybe the victim is the 90-year-old man. He's not how much the value. The guy is a young guy. Whose value? The value, how does he redeem himself? How do you redeem the guy? This is all big machlekes, the Gemara and the Talmud, and you can go learn Gemara, and you'll realize how all these laws are learned and evaluated. Verse number 31 in Ben Yeager, whether the ox gored a young boy in Bas Yeager, whether a young girl, you shall do it according to this law. What does Rashi say? We're talking over here about a child. Whether it killed an adult, whether this person's ox killed an adult, whether it killed a child. Shikatana, that's a daughter which is a minor, since it says the verse, you shall put to death a man or a woman. I might think that the bull is liable only if it kills an adult. If it's irritates or if it gives a young boy or kills a young girl. Doesn't make a difference. The ox that kills somebody, you're obligated, any animal, as I said before, any of my animals that I have that kill somebody, I'm now liable for monetary punishment. If the ox will gore a maid servant, a servant, Kesef Shleshim Shkalim, that the Torah puts a punishment of 30 shekel on the master. So here the Torah, by a servant, the Torah gives for some reason a value, a punishment, a penalty. That's what Rashi says. This is scripture decree. This is amazing. This is what's called in the Gemara Gzeres HaKosov. Gzeres HaKosov is we don't know. Why would the Torah say such a thing? Why would the Torah say the difference between a maid and a servant and a regular person? Gzeres HaKosov. That's what the Gemara uses the word Gzeres. That's what the pasuk says. That's the decree from the Torah. Take it or leave it. The bull's owner pays 30 shekel, whether the dead slave was worth 1,000 zuz or whether he's worth one dinner. The weight of a shekel is 4 pieces of gold, which equals an ounce according to the official weight of Cologne in France. So that's it. You'll find that many times in the Gemara. Or you have the expression halacha l'moshe Messina. This is the law. This is the law. So this is Gzeres HaKosov. There's many laws in the Torah, you're going to learn over here, that this is not, you won't find this in civil law anywhere. And maybe civilly, it doesn't make sense. That's Gzeres HaKosov. This is what the Eibishter wanted. Verse 33, Yiftach ish bar, a person opens a pit. A yichri ish bar, a person digs a pit. And he did not cover it. And a bull or a donkey falls into this pit. I dug a pit, the uncle dug a pit, and somebody fell into it. So Rashi says, if a person, whether he dug the pit or he opened the pit. Why is that stated? If you're liable for opening a pit, why did the Torah say that you dug a pit? But this is to include a digger who digs deeper than a digger that is like. Let's say one guy dug a pit a certain amount, and the second guy came and finished the pit. The one who finished the pit is the one who's liable. The one who digs pit 9 handbreadth and which is capable of injuring an animal but not killing it. Another one digs one a handbreadth more. So Yankel came and dug the pit for 9 handbreadths. And the Shmerel came and dug it one handbreadth. So the Torah tells us the one who dug the 1 handbreadth, now he's liable. Even though the other guy did 9. The other guy did 9 inches, and I only dug it 1 inch. That's the law. I that dug a 1 inch made it viable to kill an animal. And he did not cover it. So the Torah tells us that if he covered it, for whatever reason it got uncovered, yeah, I'm not liable. If I covered it, I covered it. The Torah, the main thing, the Torah over here is talking about one who dug a ditch in the public domain. He didn't dig the ditch in his private house, in his backyard. He dug a ditch in a public domain. Then I'm responsible. I dug a ditch in my backyard, and somebody else comes in and falls into it. That is not my responsibility. Now she says again, when the Torah says these animals, and it uses like you'll see the Torah uses these animals, an ox or a donkey, goes backwards and forwards. This applies to all domestic animals and beasts. But whatever it says, a bull or a donkey, we derive that it applies all domestic animals. Through Gzeira Shabbos, Simtu Shur, which means the law of Shabbos is stated in the order that your bull and your donkey rest. What about my cat? What about my my geese, my goats, my sheep? It means everything. It means everything. Just as it referring to Shabbos, every domesticated animal, this is like a bull, a reference to the law, as it says regarding Shabbos, you shall not perform kind of work, either you nor your son, all your animals. Here too, all animals and beasts are like a bull. So if I dug a hole and somebody's a dog went by and fell in and got hurt, it's the same law. Say, but the Torah says only an ox or a donkey. Bull and donkey mentioned here is only to understand that a bull that falls into a pit, the owner is liable, but not a man who falls into a pit. And he's liable for the donkey, but not utensils. That's what the Gemara says, that I'm not liable. A person should look where he's walking. I'm not liable for a person. I'm liable for an animal that falls into a pit, but a person should look where he's walking. If a guy doesn't look where he's walking, that's his problem. I'm also not liable if the donkey was carrying utensils. I'm liable for the donkey, but not the utensils that it's carrying. And again, these are all in the Gemara. A lot of stuff here. The owner of the pit shall pay. He shall return the money to its owner, and the dead body shall be his. Shall be whose? Doesn't say. It's very interesting wording. The dead body belongs to who? I'm paying for it. Let's say I dug the pit. I'm paying. So it means it belongs to me. I pay for the animal, then the dead animal belongs to me. Let's see. Balaber, Balatakala, the creator of the obstacle, the pit. Although the pit is not his because it's in the public domain. For he's made in the public domain. So what do you mean the Balaber? The pit belongs to me. It's not my pit. It's in the middle of Lions Road. Scripture made it his. Torah says, you're right. It's not your pit. It's in the public domain. But I'm making it your pit. And so far he's liable for damages. Kasev Yashal Abayla. I say Yashiv is written to include anything worth money. even brand. This is a general rule that when it comes to monetary when it comes to monetary payment, I don't have to pay always cash. I can pay anything in value. So in essence, if I owe somebody money, I can give him shmatas. In this aspect, if I damage somebody and I owe him now $100, I can take all my used clothes and I give him the value of my used shmatas of $100. The main thing is I have to return him $100. Now he has to take the shmatas and go sell it to get his $100. But that's one of the rules of the Torah, that I always can give him back the value of $100. So the dead animal, just like the last Rashi, the dead body shall be his. The dead animal will belong to the one owner who sustained the damages. So he gets the animal. The ass is the carcass, and he, the owner, takes it for the value, and the damager pays the addition payment for his damage. So the animal was worth $1,000, and right now dead, as a dead carcass, it's worth $100. So the damager pays $900. The one who made the ditch pays $900, and the guy takes the animal. Now that's not always good for the one who got damaged, because now he's stuck with it. He has to go sell the animal because he has no value. The animal has no value. I mean, it does have a $100 value for non-kosher. If you would have shechted, it would have been worth $1,000. Now it's only worth $100. So he gets his $900 cash, and now he has to take the animal and sell it for $100 for non-kosher food. Okay, verse 35, my friends. If a man's bull strikes his friend's bull, goring bull, vames, and Yankel's bull gored Shmerel's bull, and he killed him. They shall sell the living bull and divide the money in half. And so to divide the dead body. So this is a tam. If I don't say mine again. Yankel's is not a goring ox, and he gores another ox, and he kills it, he pays 50% of the damage. He's a non-goring ox. 50%. So Rashi says, and he strikes him whether he hits him with his hooves, either with his horns or his feet or whatever. It made difference how he hurt the other ox. He bit him. A bull belongs to somebody, not a wild bull. Somebody owns it. Rashi. Scripture speaks of two bulls of equal value. A bull worth 200 zuz that killed a bull worth $200. Whether the carcass is worth much or worth little, when the one who takes half the value of the live bull and half the value of the dead one, the result is that each one sustains half damage that the death inflicted upon him. We learn that the tam bull pays a half a damage. That's the law. Torah law. Torah law is interesting law. Only Torah law is that if my property damaged somebody else's property, my bull damaged somebody else. If the animal is not a habitual gore, I pay 50% of the property, 50% of the damage. It's Torah law. So that's the Torah law. No, not more, not less. Or perhaps even if it was unequal when they were alive. Scripture mandates that they sell them both and divide the proceeds and sell between them. This cannot be true, since we say that sometimes the damager would gain very much, or sometimes the victim will receive much more than the amount of the complete damages. For half of the value of damaged bull may exceed the entire value of the bull that was damaged. If you say that the law regarding the tame bull is a non-habitual bull, is more stringent than the law regarding habitual, which is illogical, you are compelled to say that Scripture referring to only when the bulls are equal value, to teach you that the tam bull pays half damage. And the law concerning equal ones, you learn about unequal ones. That one who is awarded half damages They, the court, assess the carcass and decrease the value due to the death, and it receives half of the depression that leaves. Now, why the scripture stated in this language? To teach us that a tam bull pays only with its body, and if it gored it and subsequently died, the owner who sustains the damages receives only the carcass. And if it does not equal half of his damage, he has a loss. Or if the bull's worth a mana, 100 zuz, gored a bull worth 500 zuz, the owner receives only the bull. For the tam bull did not become obligated only to pay for the rest of the property. And this is all in Baba Kama. You can all learn all these laws. Very interesting laws. Verse 36, but if it's an habitual gore, since it gored yesterday and the day before yesterday, and the guy did not watch him, then he pays 100% value. He shall pay a bull for a bull, and the dead body shall be his. Again to the owner. Or if it's not a tam, but it was known that it was a habitual goring bull today and for the yesterday and day before yesterday, totaling 3 gorings. Shalim, Yishalim, Shari is the complete damages. So in essence, the Lord of Torah refers 3 times. He's an unhabitual murderer, this ox, and he only pays half. If he's an habitual gorer, he pays full damages. A mess, and the victim, it belongs to the victim. In addition to that, the damager must complete it until the victim is paid his entire damage. Verse 37, it's a long chumash. If a man steals a bull or a lamb and slaughters it, a machre, or he sells it, this is another interesting law. If Yankel steals Shmerel's ox or sheep and he shecht it or he sells it, chamisha bak yishal, he has to pay him 5 cattle, 4 for the lamb. So you have to pay 5 times the value of the ox and 4 times the value of the lamb. Why? So Rabbi Yeager ben Zakkai said, Rashi said, being done a Gemara, Rabbi Yeager ben Zakkai, that God wasn't considerate to people's honor. For the bull, which walks on his own feet, and the thief was not disgraced by carrying on his shoulder, he pays 5-folds. For the lamb, which the thief carried on his shoulder, so he was embarrassing. The thief he had to schlep it. We're going to decrease his punishment. So the Eivishal Achmanas on a thief that have to work hard, while the thief who didn't have to work hard. So the thief in the first, by the bull, he was not so disgraced, and the thief in the second one was more disgraced. He pays 5-fold, and the lamb, which the thief carries on his shoulder, he pays 4-fold because he was disgraced by it. Meir says, "Come and see how great the power of work is. For the theft of a bull, which causes the owner to stop working, the thief pays 5. For the theft of a lamb, which not cause the owner to stop working, because he doesn't work with his lamb. So when a guy steals a bull, he not only lost the bull, he lost the work of the bull. That's why he pays 5 times. But he didn't lose the work of the bull. He lost the value of the sheep. So he pays 4 times. So this is a law only concerning animals. In general, you pay back what you stole. Over here, the Torah tells you only if it was shechted or you sold it. So Shtana Kasa Lehman, the Torah repeats it, mentioning the bull and the lamb to tell us that the rule is of 4 and 5-fold payment is only by a bull and a lamb. That's it. This is an interesting law of a bull and a lamb. That's the law. Only by a bull and a lamb. Verse number 1, chapter 22, verse 1. This is another very fascinating law. If somebody is caught breaking into somebody else's house, he's caught in a tunnel. He's tunneling into your house. While breaking in, the thief discovered Machteres is a tunnel, and he was a mace, and the guy killed him. He killed the thief. Ein le damim, he doesn't have any blood. Rashi says when he's breaking into the house, he was digging on the house. Ein le damim. This signifies it's not considered murder. If you kill somebody while he's going into your house, why? The guy came to steal. We're talking about the guy came to steal. So why if you kill a guy that came to steal, why didn't you murder him? Yes, to the Gemara learns and Rashi being done. This is as if he came to kill. Here the Torah teaches us a lesson. If somebody comes to kill you, kill him first. And this one, the thief, even though this guy came to be a thief, he didn't come to steal. Really, that was his original agenda. He was hoping you're going to stay asleep, but the guy happened to wake up. So he's a gun. He's not coming to. He didn't come per se to kill you, but nevertheless he has come to kill you because he knows that no one can hold himself back, remain silent when he sees people taking his money. Usually, that's what they tell you today. If somebody comes to rob you, give them the money. But that's not what people do. People stand up even for their money. Therefore, he, the thief, has come with the knowledge that if the owner of the property were to stand up against him, the owner would kill him. And therefore, he's in essence, by coming to thieve in your house, he's already considered dead. Torah continues. The next verse. Zorcha Hashem. It's a very interesting expression, a very interesting law. If the sun shone upon him, damim loy, it's as if he has blood. So let's see what that means. That means if I know for sure that he's not coming to murder, and the Gemara gives a very example what that means. That means I caught somebody that I know for sure is not coming to murder me, it's coming to rob me, then I'm not allowed to kill him. He shall surely pay. If he has no money, he shall sold for his theft. So Rashi says, this is nothing but a metaphor, meaning if the matter is clear to you that the thief is peaceably disposed towards you, similar to the sun, which represents peace in the world, so it's obvious to you that he's not come to kill you. Even if the owner of the money rises against him. For instance, a father breaks to steal his money, his father is breaking into his son's house. If a father is breaking into his son's house, this is the Gemara's analogy, it is known that the father has mercy and the father will never kill his son. The Gemara actually says the opposite is the other way. That if a son breaks into his father's property, he has not come to the day of murder him. So the son cannot kill his father. So he has blood, meaning the thief is considered a live person and is considered murder if the property owner kills him. So if the son kills him, then he has done an act of murder. So that's a very unique law. And you have to let him steal in essence. The guy come to steal for you, let your son steal, let your father steal the money, and then bring him to court. Bring him to court and get your money back. The thief shall pay him the money he stole, and he's not liable to death. You don't kill a person that's stealing. It's considered sent to death in the case where the property owner is allowed to kill him. In this case, the thief is exempt from any monetary obligation incurred when he dug into the house. In the case of property owner may not kill him, however, the thief is considered liable to death, and thus he must pay for what he stole. Until it surrenders the eyes of a witness fell upon him, adopt another view saying that the witness discovered him, the thief, before the property came owner came. And when the property owner came against him, they warned him not to kill him. The thief is considered if he has blood. The owner is liable. I mean, in essence, if I catch a thief, or people catch a thief, I'm not allowed to kill a thief. I'm only allowed to kill a thief. And this law is a guy. I catch a guy coming through my house at night, sneaking through my house, and I know that the guy, if I stand up against it, the guy's going to kill me, so I'm not to kill him. If I know who this guy is, and I'm 100% sure that this guy will never kill me, as I said, he's my father, my teacher. The Gemara brings down a couple examples. Then I'm not allowed to kill him. If the stolen article is found in his possession, whether it's a bull, whether it's a donkey, a lamb, a live one, he shall pay double. That means in general, this is a law. If somebody steals something and he denies it, and then we have witnesses that find him that he lied, then he pays double. He has to return the object and pay for the object. And that's a penalty that the Torah puts upon him. He still has the animal. Anything that's included the obligation to make it twofold payment, whether it's a living thing, whether it's something that's not alive, that it says for a lamb, a garment, or any lost object, he has to pay double. And what does he have to pay? He shall pay him. He shall not pay him dead ones, but either live ones or the value of live ones. You can't give a dead animal to the owner. You have to give him live animals or the value of live animals. And that completes the Chumash of the day. A lot of stuff here, my friends. I hope you take the time to learn this again and go learn the Gemara, learn Baba Kama. We're going to go to the Tanya of the day. Okay, middle of chapter 23 of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe is talking about the concept of learning Torah. And the beauty of learning Torah. We just learn Torah now. We learned it, it took us an hour, the chitas of today, but it's a lot of stuff there. And we should learn it more deeply, understand it more intensely. These are the laws of the Torah. You're not going to find a majority of these laws in civil law. It's not going to find it. There's no concept in civil law between a tam and a muad. It's a Torah law. And there's a lot of Gemara on this law, a lot of meaning to this law. We should learn the law. I'm not talking about the spiritual meaning. The civil meaning of the civil law between an ox and an ox. There's a lot of stuff in this. And we should try to understand. And that's why the sages argued on an ox and ox and an ox going an ox. Because they wanted to know the Torah law. And they wanted to know what is the meaning of God's law between a tam and a muad, an habitual gore and a non-habitual gore. Because in that is the will of the Eibishter. Again, you're not going to find that no man is going to come up with this law. Now that the Eibishter came up with the law, now we have to understand, why did the Eibishter come up with the law? Why did God say this law? Why did God say that this law, the concept of the guy drilling in your house and it has to be a father? What's the meaning? What is the simple meaning of the law? What is the come to court and that's going to be the law? I'm not going into the spiritual meaning. Because that's what God wanted, the expression in the Gemara. That's what God wanted. If ox goes to ox. Why would God get involved in civil law? Why did he leave it to court? There's courts. God wanted courts. So why did God have to get involved in ox goring ox? Why couldn't he leave that to the court? Leave it to human mind. What are you getting involved? Why did God need to get involved in ox goring ox? Couldn't that be given over to man to decide if ox gores ox, what should be the law? No, the Eibishter wanted to get involved in ox goring ox. The Eibishter wanted to get involved. God wanted to get involved if a ditch in the middle of a public domain. Why could you leave that up to civil law? Why could you leave that up to human beings? That shows you that God had a certain, God's ratzon is not only in spiritual law. God is not only interested in spirituality, God is also interested in the civil law. He's also very interested and has his will in a ditch in a street, in an ox, goring an ox, in a slave. If you hit a slave, God is interested. He has his ratzon. He has his will. Besides, he leaves that up to you to come to the ultimate conclusion in the law. But what is the Eibishter's, what is God's ratzon in that law? That's why the Gemara says if somebody wants to really acquire knowledge, he should learn Baba Kama. Learn the Sechta Baba Kama. It's one of the hardest Mesechtas in the Gemara. Civil law according to the Torah. Not civil law according to just a bunch of people coming together and deciding what law is. No. Civil law, how people said, okay, the Torah says there's a difference between a non-goring ox and a goring ox. Now, how do we bring that into a practicality? Into a basic law, which ultimately the Eibishter gave us that we should establish law. But it should be based on the Torah law, on God's will. That's why the Torah starts off right away in the beginning of the parasha, that with any law you have, whether it's civil, even civil law, you should go first to a bezdin. You should hear what the Torah says about it. Even though that law might be the same in civil law. But let's hear what the Torah says. What was the ratzon of the Eibishter? What would be the will of God if one person hurts another person monetarily? Because then you're connecting to God. Not only are you connecting to knowledge, which the Eibishter gave knowledge, civil law, which is a great knowledge. You're a lawyer, you're a judge. It's a lot of knowledge. Civil law. This is also civil law. This is also law between man and man, civil law, penalties and damages, etc. But what did the Eibishter wanted in this civil law? That's the beauty of Torah law, because you're learning not only law, which is a great subject, and great knowledge, you're learning Torah law, you're learning God's will. And since the divine will, which is in perfect unity with God Himself, stands completely revealed in the divine soul of the inner garments, meaning in thought and speech, while a person occupies himself with words of Torah, and there's nothing obscured the divine will at that time. I'm there to learn what is Torah law. What does the Torah want in a civil law? What does the Torah want if a person damages another person? At that moment that I learn it, and I comprehend it, at that moment, it becomes united. They become united with God. At that moment, the ultimate unity. Because it's regular law. I can learn it. I can understand it and come to a conclusion. Why? There's a difference between these two entities. Because the Eibishter, with a complete unity, comparable to God's speech and thought, with His essence, as being explained above. There's no separation between God and His thought and His speech. God might be hidden. You might say, where is God in an ox going an ox? It might be hidden. But in the Eibishter, the Pasuk says openly that this is the will of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the Chachma of the Eibishter. Not even, and moreover, the unity, meaning the unity of the divine soul and its faculty with God that is attained through Torah study, is even more exalted and more powerful than the unity of God's infinite light with the upper spiritual worlds. It's even greater God's unity in a simple verse of the Torah is even greater than it's in heaven. For the divine will is actually manifest in the soul and its garments that are engaged in Torah study. Since it is identical with the Torah being studied, that's exactly what the Eibishter wanted. This is what the Eibishter wrote, Dvar Hashem. And I am learning it. I am comprehending it. What is the will of the Eibishter? I'm trying, and I can comprehend it. Torah law. What could be greater than becoming one with the knowledge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Especially that all the supernal worlds receive the vitality by the weight of the light of the life derived from the Torah, which is the will and the wisdom of God, as it says, you have made all with wisdom. So that's why. Therefore, my friends, the Alter Rebbe says, God's wisdom, which is the Torah, the Maila Mekulam, transcends them all. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. There's nothing greater in a person's life than learning Torah. In fact, the Torah, God's will, is described as an encompassing all worlds. This is a meaning that's a level that cannot become enclosed within the worlds, but rather animates them and illuminates them as from a distance, from above. It's transcending and encompassing man. And this level, which transcends all the worlds, which is the wisdom of God, that is closed and truly revealed form in one's soul and his soul garments when he studies Torah. Because at that time, think about it. When I'm studying Torah, I'm studying a wisdom that is in the world, and at the same time, it's above the world. Now, you might not see that. You learn it, and you might not see that. Even though he might not see it, now when he studies Torah, he's unable to consciously experience the unity of his soul with God, which is attained thereby. But my friends, yet his soul feels it. My neshama does feel it. So whether I don't feel it because I'm so far away from my neshama does feel it. In many ways, it's the fact that this precisely why he can endure such a unity with God, because he doesn't feel it. If I would feel it, I would lose myself. If I would feel that by learning every pasuk I'm becoming united with God, I would lose my identity. And that's why the Eibush says, you know what? I'm gonna make you not feel it. Even though while you're learning Torah, your soul is becoming united with God, you're not gonna feel it. Because I want you to continue to feel, to not lose who you are. I want you to unite with God and still refine yourself, become holier, but don't lose who you are. And by my revelation, if I would reveal myself, then you as a human being would be totally different. You would lose your human identity. And that's what happens in the upper worlds. They totally lose their human identity. They become part of the wisdom of God. And this discussion of the exalted unity with God attained through the study of Torah, which is even greater than accomplished by performing mitzvahs, explains why Torah study is so much loftier than all other commandments, including even prayer, which affects unity within the supernal worlds too. But the learning of Torah is super duper, because the learning of Torah is learning God's wisdom and his will. It's both of it together. A mitzvah is God's will. The Torah is both God's wisdom and God's will. God's true essence. The Eibusha says, the Gemara says, I said in Shabbos, it says, Anoichi. The first word in the Ten Commandments is Anoichi, which is an Egyptian Gemara says stands for 4 words, Anoichi. Because really the Hebrew word for Ani, I, is Ani, not Anoichi. Anoichi is an Egyptian word. Anoichi stands for Ana Nafshi Ksovis Yahavis. I, my essence, I've written and I've given. The Eibishter gave us himself by the Torah, by giving us the Torah, by giving us the capability to unite with him in a unity, as the Alter Rebbe wrote in this chapter, is a unity that is not found anywhere, a unity of essence to essence. The more I learn Torah and I comprehend it in my wisdom, in my understanding, in my knowledge, and it transforms the way I feel, the more I unite with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a unity that there's no place else, nowhere else such a unity. Although the law requires that anyone whose Torah study is not an entire occupation, that he must interrupt to study Torah for prayer, which would seem to indicate that prayer surpasses Torah study. This is only because he would in any case pause and interrupt his studies, because he's just not a person that is a full occupation is Torah study. And therefore he'll stop for not only for Torah study, he'll stop for other things also. So therefore, such a person needs to stop and pray. Because even though he's learning Torah, and it's an unbelievable thing, but since it's not his occupation, therefore when it comes time to prayer, stop. Pray. So when it comes time to do a mitzvah that can be done by somebody else, stop and do the mitzvah. But not that shows that the Torah that those things are more important than Torah study. There's nothing greater for a Jew but to learn Torah, and that's why the verse says, "V'gisa b'yayim v'layla." You shall learn Torah by day and by night. If you would have the merit and you would have the koyach and you would have the capability, the greatest thing in the world would be to sit and learn Torah 24/7. Because there's nothing greater, there's nothing more powerful, there's nothing more holier, there's nothing more uniting than knowledge in general and learning, and even learning between each other. Actually, the Gemara says that learning between each other brings a unity that also is not found anywhere. That we learn together, we study together, is a great way to unify humans together. That's why it says you always should learn together. Not by yourself, but learn with somebody else. And that completes the Tanya of the day. It's been a long day. Today is the 22nd day of the month of Shvat. It's also the day of the passing of the Rebbetzin, Chaim Mushka, the Rebbe's wife, from Shavan Aliyah, and should be an ambassador of goodness and kindness for everybody, for all Chassidim, for all Jews, and for the world, as the Neshama goes higher today. Today, the 22nd day of the month, which is chapter 106 and 107. 106 and 107, and you would do the chitas of the day. I want to wish you all a good day. Try to make it as fast as I can. It took us an hour and 15 minutes to do the chitas of the day. It's a long chumash. You can never end the learning, and the Mitzvah will continue the chitas tomorrow at 8 a.m. I hope to see you all in Mitzvah tomorrow.